A year ago, I got an offer where a company wanted to buy my business for $3 million. People were telling me, don't think too much, just get the money because money is everything here. I was like, why would the hell just I go back to Vietnam, build a great business and do all that if it's just to sell it for that amount of money? We were actually having a bunch of people coming, and then people had to download the app and scan just to get a beer. That were French people, my people. People were telling me like, why the F do we have just to download an app just to get a beer? And that is nonsense.
Hello guys, welcome to Vietnam Rising Podcast. And today we have a very special guest. It's Lam Tran, CEO of WisePass. So WisePass is actually one of the very few startups in Vietnam that has been here for 6 years. And is actually doing something quite unique that I believe that we could say that no one else doing it around the world. And today, for the 6-year anniversaries of him being with his startup, we're going to have a little bit of reflection sessions where we're going to talk about.
Well, my journey as a founder for the past 6 years, how did I handle the ups, the downs, how resilience is actually critical as a skill for a founder. And then also in Vietnam, why did I come back to Vietnam? And also the experience, when you go through the success, and then how it can affect a lot of people around you. So there are a lot of things to cover.
Yes, absolutely. And see you in the episode. Let's take a step back and tell the audience what's WisePass?
Sure.
And why we're talking about this uncertainty time.
The WisePass origin story. What I can say, when I introduced WisePass, to make it simple, it's actually a marketing platform. And what we do is just to connect the brands and the consumers through an app. Consumers can just subscribe like on Netflix, just download the app, sign up, and just pay a flat fee every month. And that's pretty much it. So that's how it works. And that would be the introduction. The way it works for the brands is pretty simple. Like the brands would say, here are a bunch of products or services that would like to offer for free to the subscribers of WisePass.
Mm-hmm.
An example of that would be, let's say, a liquor brand.
Mm.
So I'm not going to mention any brand, but let's say a whiskey brand would like us to build a consumer base of whiskey consumers.
Mm.
So let's say they have 1,000 whiskey bottles.
Mm-hmm.
So they can just splash it on the market and select the bars or the restaurant they want to partner with. And they would say, okay, that whiskey bottle is entry level, and then it's going to cost you 3 pass or 5 pass. They decide actually.
Mm.
And then the subscribers will have different plans, like on Netflix. So you get the standard plan, you get the premium plan, you've got the whatever plan. But every plan will have just a price and then a set amount of pass per day. So let's say I'm a premium member, and then I have 100 pass per day. And then that whiskey brand allows me just to pick up a bottle for only 10 pass.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to the bar and scan and actually get my bottle for free.
Mm.
That's it. If it's a service, I remember we did that. It was like Ducati.
Mm-hmm.
So Ducati was actually more about test drive. So for, let's say, 3 pass, you can get to the showroom, you scan, and then you'll be able just to try the new Diwali 60, if I recall.
Mm.
And then you can enjoy the test drive. And then Ducati will be able to have a consumer base of people interested in driving motorbikes. So that's actually it works. But the real value when you talk about WisePass is how we can really use data properly in marketing. So brands can be more relevant and stay relevant to the consumers. And they have to be using a data-driven mindset. So it's easy to say, I want to be data-driven, I want to be this and that. The question is more how do you do this from A to Z? And so you can create value and then you can monetize that. So that's actually where people are getting stuck, because they're like, okay, I got a bunch of emails. What do you do with the emails? I send newsletter. I can actually do that. But then how do you measure the sales? How do you measure something meaningful or marketing metrics that will be good for the brand? And this is the whole research I've actually worked on 6 years ago. There you go. So that is kind of WisePass in several steps. So I don't try to lose you.
Okay. And then let's get back to the question, which is, yeah, and how's was WisePass doing during this entire time?
So for the
because you work directly with consumer and you work directly with brands, you can actually see data of like how consumers are reacting and how brand are like responding to all this campaign.
Yeah. So I'll do like a really quick 60 seconds for 6 years, so 10 seconds per year.
Okay.
So the way it started is actually we launched in 2015, but then we were failing miserably for the first 12 months because we didn't know how to do redemption and we didn't know how to get paid. But then in the end of 2015, we started to know how to get redemption right, meaning consumer come, scan, and get something. So we solved that part. Second is, well, we need to make money, right? So how do we make money? So in 2016, we figured that out. And we figured that out by actually setting a subscription where people just put their credit card, just get charged once a month, and then would get something in exchange, which is like the famous whiskey bottle every night for 6 million. So now we were getting paid every month by a bunch of people. Number 3, that's great. But then how do you grow and make sure like this is going to be something very big? So we needed this capital just to grow faster, which we happened to have in 2017. So we got this $400,000 investment from Expert in Singapore, and that enabled us just to grow like from Ho Chi Minh City to Hanoi, and then Thailand and Bangkok and Manila. So we knew that, okay, so actually this is not a Vietnamese thing. It could work in many countries. People are drinking everywhere. And then it's more than just drinking now because you could eat, you could get coffee, you can watch movies, you can do a lot of stuff. In 2019, then there was another thing which is more about finance, which is you get the money from subscription now that we're doing subscription. But then we had to pay back all the vendors. But now we started to work with brands that would actually sponsor all the products and services. And that changed everything for the finance because when we did that, so we didn't have any cost anymore when someone else scans for something.
So I would like to pause you right there and try to explain it better. So because I've been following WisePass journey for a long time already. Well, we know each other like 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I've known WisePass since the original like early models to now. And the difference is that you can imagine WisePass model before is kind of like insurance, right? So more people who buy the insurance, then you have a big capital, and whoever then you paying the cost for that person. But the problem with that model, like you just said, is that every customer use it. It's not like insurance where you buy it and then there's people using it and there's people not using it. For WisePass, whenever a customer use it, like buy it, they try to maximize their investment by, for example, WisePass used to have a famous, well-known deal, which is you pay for 6 million, which is $300 a month, and you get one whiskey bottle a night. So basically, if you counting by the cost, if you have like 4 nights of whiskey bottles, then you would just 3 nights, yes, and then you just recover all the costs, right? But then that makes the stress on WisePass finance because that's mean like the bigger you grow, more cost you have to operate. And now they're changing that. They're changing it to instead of them paying for whatever the customer use, they are getting the brand to sponsor all those products. So that right now the customer getting all that, but their cost is basically zero.
Correct.
And that is such a very interesting journey of market fit and product fit, right? Because for startup, it's very important to find market fit when you're building something very new. Like WisePass is like a lifestyle app platform where people can try different things for a monthly fee. And yeah, I think it's a very cool, very interesting journey just to able to watch WisePass grow from the beginning to now.
Because like when we looked at the so our name is WisePass, right?
Yes.
So what we realized is a bunch of other companies were like something pass. So say like in the US, there's a company called like MoviePass.
Mm.
You would pay like $10 or something like that, and then you can watch any movies you want, unlimited. It's crazy. And then what happened? Well, they were losing a lot of money because like a lot of people were just watching a bunch of movies, and then you would lose the money, and they would lose a lot of money. They actually ended. They crashed and burned.
Yes.
ClassPass. They're actually in the gym.
Gym.
But then here's the difference. They didn't crash and burn. They had a huge investment, so they can sustain that. And then they can actually grow the model and eventually become something really big enough. And then they can reach a critical mass. So they get all around the countries in the world and then eventually win. That's possible. But this is assuming that investors follow you and still believe in you.
Yes.
And then if they don't, then you're pretty much dead as a founder.
Yes. Well, I mean, like you can, because of 2019 is where we work and Uber, and then like a lot of those startups been, like a lot of scandal, like fail IPO and everything. Mm-hmm. So it makes a huge hitch on other startup like community, because now founders start getting scared of the growth model where you just burn all the money. Especially you even have a case like that in Vietnam where it says WeFit.
And so I was about to say, and WeFit is basically like a victim of that, which is like they can't do like ClassPass because it's really hard just to start from Vietnam and actually just copy ClassPass and fight against them. Mm-hmm. It is really hard just to, another one in Vietnam was lovelife. Lovelife is basically just like an e-commerce website. And basically you order, you get some product, right? Mm-hmm. They started as a niche and they copied the model vente privée.
Yes.
And then they grew really fast. They raised $11 million, but then there was a lot of issues in the execution because like they realized, you're going to turn into basically just an e-commerce platform. All the e-commerce platform basically are losing tons of money, millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And to me, to be honest, like the reason why like they're still able to survive is because there's a strong belief from the owners, the investors, that retail, you just put a big website where you can buy whatever you want and then we deliver it to you, is working. Then Alibaba purchased Lazada, mm-hmm. and then Shopee is actually now like listed, so they have tons of cash, and then it grows. Mm-hmm. And the mantra is actually, if the top line is going like crazy, valuation goes up, that's good for me as a shareholder. Then I can just invest now and actually resell maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years later.
Yeah.
And in Vietnam, so I was the head of marketing of Tiki. So for Tiki, it's pretty much the same. Losing a lot of money, but still growing really fast.
Yeah.
But then like the biggest risk is actually just to not have enough cash just to sustain that model for the next 10 years. Mm. So that's not.
Yeah, that's where I feel like, I don't know, like it's kind of like a money game where investors are like, I'm trying to get in early enough so I can cash out before this crashing down. But eventually, if you following a startup models where you just burning a lot of money to grow and you don't really make profit along the way, how are you gonna sustain in the next like 20 years? Like if startup is something that you just planning to build just to make money in 5 years and 7 years, then I don't, basically I feel like e-commerce startups in general, they damage the market a lot. By doing a lot of promotions in Vietnam, like right now, like even Grab and everything, like ride hailing, like everybody is doing a lot of promotions. It's great for consumer, but they don't think in a long term where because of that, no customer will ever pay you on the full price.
So that's the thing, like so Grab, right?
Yeah.
Uber, Gojek.
Do you think that they're gonna eventually profitable?
Uber is still not profitable. They're actually on the stock market and they reported like hundreds of millions of dollars in losses. Mm. So I don't see any, so what they call is path to profitability. Mm. So what they have to do is just to raise like billions of dollars and figure it out. Basically, like this is a risk. And yeah, it's risky. And that's the way it is in tech. Number 2 is, let's say, you're pretty much at the mercy from investors if you're the founder, because like that's the way it is. And as a founder, I decided like, okay, so how can I not rely on investor? I'll actually reduce the risks from fundraising. by actually pivoting the model. So if I grow the subscribers,
Yes.
then the profit will go along.
Yeah.
So that's one. And if I manage to do that, then how it's gonna change the business, how it's gonna change like the relationship with the investors.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really important because like when you're a founder then trying to do something new, you have a lot of stress because you don't know so many things.
Yes.
So every year I'm trying to do one big thing. I'm just trying to solve one big problem.
Yeah.
And that's it. Not trying just to go and do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So the minute you solve this problem and then you become profitable, which we happen to be in 2019, November, December,
Yeah.
then we realized that we deliver that message. And then this is how we got the funding in March 2020. And this is when we realized that, okay, so that's going to work. And then if we do this properly, then we'll be able just to grow the business and go very fast after that if we want to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just different mentality, right? So we have a few other recently episodes on that. We talk about when to give up, which is like a sustainable model for startup. Would you go for profit or would you go for various round fundraising? Which path is better for a startup? So I have specific questions for you as a founder. Is that why is it worth it to be so resilient and persistent in your stuff?
Well, the necessity to be resilient, and that's one of the article I wrote about like the 5 qualities of an entrepreneur is you will face and you will have to go through so many challenges.
Yeah.
Meaning like whatever you try, your chances to succeed is always low. So that means that you will fail most of the time. If you're not used to fail, and actually learn from your failures, then you're not going to be fit for entrepreneurship because like you will, if you're that good all the time, you have the feeling that everything I do, I always succeed.
Yeah.
So that's good if you succeed all the time, by the way. But in this industry, like when you start something, you're unlikely to succeed all the time. So the resilience is actually a skill, like an emotional skills or intellectual skills that enables you to really like bounce back from like all the stuff that will go down. And because you know exactly how just to bounce back, then you'll be able like just to not get glued with all the negative emotions because of the failures. You'll be able to see and take a look at the situation and say, okay, something went wrong. Why? What can I do next? That's it, right? And then, so that's the intellectual part, like the logical one.
Yeah.
Emotionally, feeling bad is actually so not good.
Yeah.
But then it's all about like, how do you embrace with the fact that things will go wrong in life in general? If you are not used to that, that's well, you won't be pretty much fit for life because like you won't be experienced the fact that sometimes things are not going to you in your way.
Yeah. Take me to an example or like a story where one of the big learning lesson that you had emotionally and then intellectually from WisePass.
Sure. Well, I got like many examples, but I'll just pick one.
Give me the most painful one.
The most painful one is so I was in District 7.
Yeah.
And we were doing this event called like Sagonella. It was an event with like some French people. And at that time, like Vice got this sponsorship with Budweiser, Corona, and all that.
Yeah.
And then like we were actually having a bunch of people coming, and then people had to download the app and scan just to get a beer.
Yeah.
But then behind my back, and people were telling me like, why the F do we have just to download an app just to get a beer? And that is nonsense. That were French people, my people, that were just telling me such kind of feedback. And so do I feel good? No, not happy about this. It was really unpleasant. But the main key thing was it was a failure because like there was no product fit, obviously, from the consumers. And then there were an unwillingness just to use the product. Emotionally, I felt bad. But then I got pushed forward just to acknowledge the fact that redemption sucks right now. and then there's no clear value proposition. Then that was in July or June 2016. What did I do? It was really simple. I actually didn't do much. I just called my friend and we went to Glow Sky Bar, and then we were just like sitting down, just getting a beer, and we pay for that. And then I was just ranting about the fact that French people are just so brutal and all this kind of thing. And then worse, the bartender actually pushed me like, do you want to buy a bottle? Do you want to buy a bottle? I was like, no, we're just two guys. It's just 5 million. I was like, no. And then I got even angrier about the guy because I think I was pushing me like I got to buy because I had to, I don't know. And then because of that, I just told my friend that, you know what, I'm going to do something. Like now I'm going to call the supplier and I'm just going to buy a bunch of bottles, and then just going to make sure that when we go around town with my app for a set amount of money, you'll be able just to get a bottle for free every night. So that's pretty cool. Doesn't exist. And this is how we found the market fit, because like a bunch of people start to buy after that. So it's very funny that based on the fact that people just, throw you some stuff in the face, you go and ask for a friend for a call and for a beer.
Yeah.
And then you just like start to find a solution, but just like 1, 2, 3 months later. And then this is how it unfolds. So it's not very like you feel bad and then you find a solution the next day.
Yeah.
It's actually taking time. And then the resilience is a key word people use, but then it means like you need to be able to bounce back. And sometimes the bounce back takes a month, not just days. So you need to be able to take into account the time. And
would
the time
you say
will be
it's
slow.
harder for you to digest the emotions of the failure, or to digest or figure out the solutions? Which is more on your mind during that figuring out phase?
It's like, like when you get water and you mix it with like some other things,
Yes.
you get a very weird mixture.
Yeah.
So that's actually how the mind works. Like you get a bunch of this thing and this thing. But then whenever like you meet that friend in this location, that will bring in like this situation, when with this context generates a new solution, then you get this new ingredient that you put in the mixture, and then naturally like the liquid becomes super clear, crystal clear. That is actually how I see it for the analogy, right?
Yeah.
So the hardest part would be how just to feel comfortable with something foggy. And that is sometimes people just don't like it. They just don't like, it's too unclear. I want to solve everything. It has to be clear right away. Now. But no, it takes time just to solve things. And then if you want something clear right now, just pay your taxes. You can pay your taxes. It's very clear. Doesn't seem that to be that interesting for many people though. But then that's very clear.
Yes, that's true.
Another way I look at it is actually to use time. Because when you in the morning in France, especially now during fall and winter time, you get a lot of fog in the morning. Fog.
Fog. Okay.
And then a couple hours later, the fog disappears. So now you can look at the problem differently, because the things that were not clear actually are getting clearer.
Yeah.
And then time is helping. Other people helping to look at things from a different angle is helping.
Yeah.
Sometimes relaxing, doing nothing.
Yeah.
Enables you just to have new ideas.
Yeah.
And then I realized that just doing nothing sometimes is great, because your mind's going to wander. And then magically, like you'll have just new ideas popping up.
Yeah.
Especially when I swim. When you swim, you're just swimming.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I just swim, so it's mechanical. Like you just go.
So basically, they're saying it's not in the zone.
Yeah. Basically. Or you're washing the dishes. You are actually just mechanically doing something else. And then your brain is kind of like, hey, actually, I found something else.
Yeah.
And then you start to pick up on the idea and then try that. And then it may still not work. But then you try and you try and you try, and slowly you'll realize that you can figure out a solution that was not obvious. To me, like when you face a very complex problem, the enemy is actually the obvious idea. Like people would say, oh, you just do that. And then like, if it were that easy, then okay, so it's not very valuable then.
Yeah.
But then when it's really complex and then you have to do a lot and take a lot of steps just to get there,
Yeah.
it means like you're building something very valuable in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. So before when we prepping this episode and we're talking about how do we frame this episode, right? So we're talking about the topic, which is being in a relationship with your own startup, right? So you're in a 5-year relationship with your wife right now. How's it like?
Well, I mentioned that part because like I realized like I'm a very romantic person.
Yes.
I believe in true love, and I think that
I don't.
Oh yeah, that's sadly for people like looking at me right now. Yes, I believe in true love, and then but I got disappointed by so many times. But the thing is, like I remember the first time when I fell in love when I was 18, and you just all in. You think that you're gonna solve this problem and you're done. Then you're with this person until the end of and then you're gonna die and that's it, right? So you're just like checking this and you're like a lot of humility for sure. But the point is actually it's about the intensity. It's about the focus. It's about how like you're deeply engaged and committed to that relationship. So you want to make it work at the end. That's all it's about. And yeah, I actually committed to that relationship because I committed when I came back to Vietnam for my 30. I do this like every 10 years. Like for 10 years, I'm going to do one thing. I will come back to Vietnam and build something great. Now we know this is WisePass, and now we know this is going to be pretty much like to
why
that level
like,
of greatness. Why I did that?
Yeah.
It's a mental framework because it sets a direction in your life, and it gives you like sometimes when you're getting lost, it really tells you why you actually living. Why
so
you
basically
doing all that.
People have crisis like every 10 years. So basically you just plan ahead. So reduce the effect of the crisis.
Well, you reduce the crisis, but you're also like setting like a clear direction, a goal, an accomplishment. So like all the rest is secondary.
Yeah.
So let's say like, why am I back in Vietnam doing all that? It's because I want to build a great business and I'm going to make sure it's going to be great. How great and how big? Well, I mentioned many times earlier in some articles, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it, but at least I have that direction, which is like building a global startup from Vietnam, which is like 15 countries and over $1 billion in revenue, which is crazy because today when I'm thinking about all the numbers I have right now, well, today I'm maybe going to rewatch this show maybe 4 or 5 years later, and then you'll say, well, actually the dude didn't make it, or actually maybe I made it. But the point is, okay, I know where I want to go, and that's the most important part. And then all your decisions after about like, what do you do? What do you want to go out, meet this person or this person is actually all about like, is this going to help me just to reach that goal? And is it going to really make me grow as a person so I can actually be fit for that relationship with my company so that company can grow?
Yeah.
So that's the mental framework.
Sure.
And for people, well, I'll give you like a very specific example. A year ago, I got an offer where a company wanted to buy my business for $3 million. It screwed up my mental framework in a way where I had to rethink about everything because people were telling me, you should sell the business, don't sell the business. You should sell the business. And the mental framework was just get $1 million in your pocket now, and then you're fine. And then you don't have to worry. You can just get coffee every morning, and then you just don't have to worry about life, and that's okay. And then my question was like, yeah, but what's the direction in my life now?
Yeah, what's the point? What's the point? Why when you finally get $1 million and you just stop working?
And people were like, no, what do you think? And don't think too much. Just get the money. Just get the money because money is everything here. I was like, yeah, well, you know what? If I were just like that, then I would stick at Google and do nothing else but just getting my cash, putting a bunch of money in real estate, get the rental. I'm doing a rental investment. And then that would be much easier. Why would the hell just I go back to Vietnam, build a great business and do all that if it's just to sell it for that amount of money and actually not really grow to the level I want to? That's number one. and back. So that's actually you should sell, and then you shouldn't sell. Then when I thought about like why I came back to Vietnam to sell, no, sorry, to came back to Vietnam just to build this company. It's not just to sell this like after a couple of years.
You want this to be your legacy?
Sure, because like the point is just to make it a really meaningful action, so that has an impact in the country. And then if you have a global startup which is making more than $1 billion a year, or in more than 15 countries, that is a great thing you can leave to the next generation, and the next generation take over and say, look, you know what? There was no startup from Vietnam that managed to grow that big and in geographically and also like in terms of revenue, right?
Yeah.
So now that I did it, if I managed to do that, you guys do more than me, and then you actually beat me. Great. So stimulate the challenge. Now go next and make it $10 billion, 100 countries. Try to do that. I'll just do my part. You guys do your part. And from 2020 to 2030 or 40, you do it. And then I'm good. I've done my part.
Yeah.
Let's address rumors and haters. So for rumors, like what I heard, let's say last year was actually the company was struggling and we would die.
Yeah.
That's actually how brutal that was, right?
Yeah.
The problem is actually those people sometimes would be just repeating things from other people they would hear from because they think that this is a truth.
Yes.
I'm not going to give names, but then that's what happened.
Yeah.
And the problem after that is those people don't have that much information. They just don't, maybe they hate us.
Yeah.
And then they're just going to spread some negative information. And that's going to happen all the time. So again, if you have enough resilience, then you just have to embrace the fact that some people will just have only one thing in mind, which is to destroy you or whatever they want to do. But this is emotional.
Yeah.
It's actually more a problem when it's logical. It means like someone else is going to compete against you. Very smart, very well funded, very great team, with a very, very great ability to execute, and with the same strong focus as me for the next 10 years. So that would be a problem for me.
Yeah.
I don't even see anyone else doing this. It's more like a lot of emotional people that would just maybe have one day a bad experience, which is fine. And then because of that, they would just like spread some bad words, and that's fine. So how did I address the rumor about the fact that WisePass would die by the end of 2019, early 2020? That's fine. Well, I worked very hard on a solution. I just got funded. And instead of listening to other people saying bad things about me, about WisePass, then I focus on what is it that will solve this problem. Then luckily we got funded. That actually kind of solved the problem. And then that will not solve the problem of haters. Because like the minute that they say something wrong, because like they say, oh, he's going to die, but eventually he's not.
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh, well, yeah, but they will come up with something else, right? And that's okay because I got great training with my big brother, and we keep fighting with each other every day about stuff, and then we try to shoot at each other. So when I look at all the people trying to say bad stuff about me, and if they could attend one of my sessions with my big brother fighting nastily for a whole afternoon, you would say like, that's nothing. So that's the way I handle haters. Now, a hater doesn't just become a hater just like that, right?
Yes.
So I realized as well, like, how can we ensure that we are generating the least amount of haters? I don't think this is something you can just avoid, but this is something you can reduce.
Yeah.
And the way we look at it is, especially this year and onward, like the way we operate now is more like system. We're system driven. We are purely like all about like how we can use data and actually create value for the consumers. And we're all about like how just to make sure those consumers can enjoy. But consumers are just one part of the equation. We work basically with three stakeholders: the brands, the venues, and the stakeholders, the consumers. So those are the three stakeholders. So we make sure like all of them are happy, and we look at anything that can go wrong. So I don't know if you, I'm a pretty much big fan of horror movies. You know why? Especially Final Destination. And
Okay.
final destination, like death, is kind of following you, and then anything that can go wrong and kill you will happen.
Uh-huh.
So this is pretty much like my mindset right now. Like when I think about like I'm gonna do that, what can go wrong in every single step, and then we try to mitigate all the risks, of course.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then by doing so, you will be able just like to ensure the best consumer experience.
But I'm guessing that, it also takes a lot of pressure for you to just, when you say, oh, if you're saying that I'm not going to make it, I'm going to make it. Or does that put the pressure on you to have to do it or have to able to prove that their word or the rumors are wrong?
Well, that's filtering the noise, right?
Mm-hmm.
If some people say that you're not going to make it, that's not very productive. But if they're saying that you're not going to be able to make it because if you pitch it that way, that won't work. But if you do pitch it that way, then I think it's going to be more convincing. That's something you can actually listen to. And then you change, and then you can actually focus on doing so. So I got 2 different feedback from people that were telling me, you're not going to make it. One was just saying, oh, I just don't believe in that. Okay. And then another one said, you should say this as well. Because like when you demonstrate that and you actually break even the company, which we did in November and December, then that will increase your chances just to demonstrate that the company has reached a tipping point where, okay, so now that you've proved it with the numbers, now like you're in a stronger position. And now you can actually tell investors, well, look, that happened. And this is when like you just focus all your mind on that, and then you just like filter as much as you can the noise. That's the key thing. Most of the time, people like when they freak out, or even investors, they can freak out as well. Then okay, but then you're the founder. You're the one, especially when you're the CEO. Like you're the one who's going to take the hit, the stress, the problems, or everything. You're supposed to be the most stable person.
Yeah.
Emotionally, like, okay, this is happening, fine. This is not the end of the world. Just because you get a social media crisis, because someone else tried to stab you in the back, because some employees were not happy because they got fired, because whatever. Or venue doesn't work with you because whatever reason. Like, and then like that's very funny because like they're all trying to make it personal. They're trying to do things like as if like I am a human being, so interact with a human being. I am a human being, but I'm mostly the CEO of WisePass, and then I have to make decisions as the CEO, not just as Lam Tran. And Lam Tran will have his personal life that I actually separate. Now I try to separate extremely well and make sure that I can focus on doing what I'm supposed to do, and I'm focused for every quarter on a few goals.
How do you gain the trust of people who are having doubt then?
Well, it's time and consistency. Some people just say, "So you're Vicky, you're not trustworthy. You're too charming." Oh wow, that's a nice one. Also,
it's like a nice way of like
he will recognize himself, by the way. So. You are, can I say, you just started, like you got nothing. Okay, fair enough. You've got, you don't know anything about F&B. So that was like more like 6 years ago. You are not a tech guy because
you are a tech guy though.
Well, so apparently some people don't think that. You just don't know much about finance, and then especially during the first couple of years where we just like focus so much on marketing and brands, we were not able to really click well with VCs because VCs wanted to understand much about branding. Branding is such an expertise that finance people, they look at numbers, they don't look at the branding. They're like, okay, that's just marketing, but they'll have they'll look marketing on the surface and look at, oh, it's just spending a lot of money to get customers. And this is how the financial people will look at it.
Yeah.
They don't know, like, how do you create brand awareness? Why do you do that? What kind of impact? How does it work? How do you generate brand engagement, brand loyalty, brand promotion? How do you do all this, especially when you don't have like a system? And that's an art, and that's why there's a marketing department, right?
Yeah.
So, and then there's branding, and actually in the digital age, you have more numbers. So that's very complex.
Yeah.
So to bring the trust, to be honest, like some people just don't want to trust you because there's no such like positive emotional engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And then like what you do is just to convince people one by one. And then the one that will trust you, then they're here. And the one that won't trust you, they won't be here. And then also like, do those people need you? Or do they have also like a big ego? It happens. And then if yes, great. If not, fine. And my answer now is actually I just build a system. You use it. And then that's it. And then if you don't want to trust me, that's fine. And then you're going to be able to go on and do your stuff by yourself. And then I realize that people that we are short-term driven, like they'll have to make decisions. And I understand that. And they have two different ways to answer. Like they just don't answer at all after the meeting, or they just say no and they explain why. And it's just like sometimes you need to find the right fit. And the trusting part is more about like the time you spend. So it's been 6 years now, so it's easier for me. But then also the consistency, like especially the people that follow me for years, they know it wasn't up all the time. Yes. So like when they saw like the funding done, they saw the revenue grow 100 times from 2016 to 2018. They realized, okay, well, shit, it's actually working. And now like we're sending 2,000 people a month just to really scan something else. That starts to be pretty big now. So it's just a size effect. And then it's, like...
does it make you appreciate people who have been following you and then like who've been trusting WisePass since the beginning?
Sure. It's just like appreciating those people, meeting them, and eventually trying just to spend more time with them is actually something I do sometimes. But then also like this, especially like when you start in a city, seems like the city where you start is actually the toughest city.
Really?
It's very tough on you. But when you go to other cities, it's actually, how to say that, more welcoming. Because they're like, oh, you started here and now you're expanding. So because you're expanding now, they have this trust initial factor because like which is maybe like, because that's the first thing they think of. You did it there, then you're doing it here. So it seems to work. So that's actually a nice welcoming factor.
How is the difference between the way people treat you during your ups and then during your down? Kind of those same kind of people, like how is it like, and what makes you realize that they're treating me differently, and how are you feeling about it?
There's so many things to share about. Let's say when you actually on the verge of success or you start to achieve things, you'll see a lot of people like you see more people in general. So there's like maybe not the same pool of people, right? But you'll see more people like coming to you and trying to do business with you. Yes. So they say, okay, this guy has this marketing platform, lifestyle app where I can maybe do this and this and that. Yeah. So they can see that they can build something on my platform. So get more people trying to do business with. When it's going down, then you see much less people who can see things because it's on the downhill. Yeah. Right? So that's the first remark. Second is you can see as well like more people want to come and work for you when you start to be more and more successful. And for the good reasons and for the bad reasons. Like the good reasons would be like because they know about me, they heard about like the business, they're interested, they're curious about it. Some people just want to be riding on piggyback on the success of this startup because like it starts to become big. They don't want to be missing out, so they want to jump on the bandwagon. And actually, they say, "Okay, I'm from that startup. I mean, it's cool because those guys starts to be successful. So I am proud of actually be part of this company, even the ex-employee. I remember like an employee was working for us, and then she worked in Hanoi. I met her again, and then like people were asking her like, "Oh, you're from WisePass." So that's actually the situation, the attitude, the behavior like is changing. It's changing positively. And obviously, like when it's the opposite, like things going down, then like people will suddenly lose faith or the belief in the company just because they see the signals, right?
And how was it for you when you see that kind of change? Like, does it hurt you? Do you feel like, yeah, I don't know, like, do you feel like you get hurt because of it?
I would say yes, of course. But it's back to resilience, right? Ups and downs happening all the time. What do you do about this? I mean, like, it's great to go up, but then how long can you go up?
Yeah.
How long can you handle the downs? And then this is very like the time where your faith is tested, your belief is tested, because like everything is showing that it doesn't get to the right direction. Now you can't change that within the next 60 minutes or 16 days or 60 days. So for a very certain amount of time, that's not going to be a very pleasant time at all. What do you do? Fortunately, actually, I had the experience of going through that thing during my first year of business school. I actually failed my first year because I just failed for the finance class. So I came to the finance class teacher and say, look, I failed my stuff. Like, can you help me to do this thing? And then the guy told me, no, you can't. So he just told me, young man, you have to take my class again. And then I would have to wait the whole year and just go for his exam. So what I did, so that's a year. It's not even like 1 hour or two months. So what I did was actually to acknowledge the fact that I would have to retake the class. And instead I built something else around. I actually took that year where I had only one class to take. And I actually went back to New York where I just finished my internship because they were ready to get me back.
Yeah.
And then actually work very hard, and they study like finance like crazy. Got the best grade in the business school the very next year, and that's it. But it took me a year and just realized that if I want to solve this problem, then this is where I'm going to solve this problem. So when you go down, you acknowledge, but then you think about like, what can I do? Where can I go? And then how long it will take?
Yeah.
And emotionally, can I handle the bad feelings for now, and then for another month or two, or for another year or two, and then from here, like, you just grow back. So that's actually how I handle the downs.
Yeah. What's gonna be like for WisePass right now in the next few years or next year?
Let's say for the next year, right? So we build things into different phases. Like from phase 0 is really simple. How do we break even? How do we become cash flow positive? And how long it will take. So that's phase 0. And then it should take less than a year, or actually much less than a year, just to get back to that. So that's phase 0. Phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is really simple. We measure like how much profit we get on a monthly basis. And then 1 digit, 2 digit, 3 digit, 4 digit, 5 digit, and so on and so on. That's his phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And so on. That depends on the market and our financial performance. That's pretty easy. And then we just make sure that it keeps going up, because now that we increase the amount of subscribers, then we increase the profitability. We increase the profits. So this is very healthy now. So you just push one thing and then it correlates with the profits. So that wasn't the case before. So for year 1 or 2021, phase 0 and phase 1 or to phase 5 may happen. And then we'll just keep growing the numbers until it's very high. And officially, I just set the goal. Our company valuation now is $4 million. And then I just laid out a plan for the next 4 years. So it has to grow from $4 to $44 million within the next 4 years. So the plan is called 4-4. And so it's easy, it's catchy, but it is helping me just to really visualize, okay, so if I want to grow to $44 million, how many subscribers do I need? So I just made the numbers like 25,000 subscribers and $40 per month on average. It could be like, let's say 40,000 subscribers for $20 per month. And it depends. So that's pretty much like the the goal. Sorry, not 40, 50,000. So the monthly revenue is $1 million per month, and then that would be $12 million a year, and that's how we get our $44 million valuation. So that's for the next 4 years, but then we break it down into smaller phase. So just break even first, be cash flow positive, get more cash in the bank every month, and then report this to the tax. Get this financially audited. That's fine. Make sure you automate everything. So like you just get more and more subscribers. You can get free trial. You can get new subscribers. That's great. So just get more and more and more. And the more you get, then the more revenue.
Yeah.
So that's actually the way we envision the next 4 years. And then this is when I hit my 40s, and this is when I'll be done.
Okay. One more question is when you say these kind of valuations and kind of plan, do you really believe in it, or are you saying is as part of like, oh, I'm telling this to people so they know that there's my goal, and it's kind of like a way you tell yourself that it's gonna happen too?
It's more like it's a personal goal. I want to build this to 44 million, but that's not even $1 billion business. First of all, personally, I would love to do more. Yeah, but I got to be realistic. But I have to be interesting with the investors. But so you build those constraints or those parameters where you look at, is it feasible to find 25,000 people paying every month for that amount of money per month in Southeast Asia? Because this is not Vietnam, but Southeast Asia. And my short answer for me is yes, like 25,000 people paying that amount of money in around 7 countries. That's feasible. Now the question is it going to be profitable and cash flow positive? Short answer is yes. Then how fast will you get there? So that depends on the funding that we get. But then if we don't get the funding, that's fine. We can do it. But then we won't maybe reach 25,000 within 4 years, maybe even less, because we'll figure out something else. And that's customer acquisition, subscriber acquisition. And then based on that, I have obviously to believe that I can do that. The second is how is actually the big question. So customer acquisition. And most probably the cost involved to do such things. So the engineering of the customer onboarding and getting the money is actually key here. But that's just like the end part where you look at the cash coming in. You have to look about like why would the money come in? Why a bunch of human beings would be ready to pay with their cards to get the product or the service that I sell. And that comes back to the brand that will do all those activities. But then why do the brands want to do this kind of thing? Because they want to do branding activities, which is called activation. Activation is to engage consumers and generate and trigger a positive feelings with the consumers. Oh, okay, that's why. So now they need to do all this kind of thing. Yeah. And now we measure all that for them. And then because we do all that for them, not in one country, but across multiple markets, we have value. So it's a long thought process where you have to think about, yes, okay, that's numbers, but why is it going to happen? Because those numbers are high and low and all this. And then now the question is, why do you put $25,000, 25,000 subscribers and not 10 times more? Is it possible? Well, the short answer is yes as well, and maybe with an RPU. So instead of $40 on average per subscriber, you'll make it only 30 or 25. Yeah. But then you get a larger revenue size. Yeah. So it's possible. It's just like we try to do that first. And then if we can get much bigger, that's fine. And we'll do it.
Cool. Yeah, I think, thank you for a great answer. And also, I think that's a great wrap up for the episode. And so if for people who want to reach out to find out what WisePass is, and like if they want to see more of your work, your writings, your articles, then how can they reach you?
It's really simple. They can simply get on the Facebook page of WisePass and just send a message.
Awesome.
There you go. Thanks for inviting me to your show.
Thank you for being awesome. And thank you, the audience, you guys, for tuning in on that episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you do, rate us on iTunes. Give us the feedback. Let Lams know how much you like the episodes. Our social media handles are Vietnam Rising Podcast on all the handles or Vietnam Risings. And I'll see you in the next episode. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.